Welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast.
Here we are going specialize on educating Southeast Texas African Americans communities with viable information on
health,
education,
local politics,
business and personal finances,
leadership coaching, and many more. Learning as a joint experience and through our series of interviews.
We can all learn more and achieve even greater things.
You are now tuned into this week's episode of our podcast.
Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds as our guests.
Meet our host Tony Renfro
And our co-hosts,
LaDonna Sherwood and Francis Larkin.
Join us every Tuesdays and Sundays as we interview new guests on another
Mind-blowing topics.
Knowledge is Power Podcast
Is the best for you.
Hello,
Okay, hello, everybody. Can we? I'm out of pocket tonight. So welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast live with my co-host LaDonna Sherwood. Hello, Donna.
Hey, boo, how are y'all?
Hey, I'm great. I'm away from home tonight, so I'm in a different environment. So I am here to start our Sunday show. So let's get started. Our guest tonight is going to be Mr. Rodney Isles. Rodney is a COVID-19 survivor. He recovered from COVID-19, and particularly our show is a little interesting tonight. We're going to talk about how we're going to ask Rodney to give us a testimony on his recovery of COVID-19. This is going to be really interesting because we have people today, right now, still misinformed about COVID. They think COVID is it's a joke. It's not real. People, let me tell you, COVID is real. I can say this for a fact. I was thinking this the other day that I can name 4 or 5 people in a 1 year that I know that passed away. Now today, I witness 4 or 5 people I know a week dying from COVID. So, people, COVID is real. And tonight, our guest Rodney Isles, he's from Port Arthur, Texas. He's now living in Arlington. Am I correct, Rodney?
I'm in Beaumont.
Oh, you're in Beaumont now. Yes,
Yeah,
right. He's
yeah.
in Beaumont now, and he just recovered from COVID. We're going to give Rodney a chance to tell us all about it. But right now, I want LaDonna to kind of give us a heads up of what's going on with us here in Southeast Texas.
Southeast Texas.
I kind of put it on you before I could inform you, huh? But I know.
I think that locally we have a lot of different events that are taking place. I know that Pastor Kennedy Andrews has an event on September the 18th. I think they also have one on Thursday where they're going to do free COVID testing and I think vaccines this week, which is really huge and important. The Democratic Party is going to have a homecoming Zoom meeting event for Joe Desatel. And locally, the precinct chairs are gearing up for the 2022 elections. We want to make sure that we're always found pushing people to either register to vote or get out to vote or be knowledgeable about the candidates that are running and things of that nature. So we're always pushing that. But tonight's particular topic is COVID recovery, which is a very important topic to me because just 2 or 3 weeks ago, my entire family had COVID. And I happened to be in Mexico at the time. And it was very alarming and it was very troubling to know that people around them, even people around me going to Mexico, just didn't believe that COVID existed, just didn't think that it was real, thought that it was a government hoax or a fraud or some type of fake event that was really not happening. So we're happy to have Mr. Rodney on. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your story.
Before you go there, let me make sure that we give an announcement about the golf tournament that's sponsored by the The YN, the WACP, in honor of Lafayette Spivey Jr. LaDonna, can you see that? Can you kind of breeze
Yes,
that over there with
I'm
that?
sorry,
Yes,
I didn't even bring that up. But yes, the
yes.
local NAACP is hosting their first annual Lafayette Spivey Golf Tournament. This tournament is going to be in Bayou Den. The pre-registration starts now at $65 for one player and $280 for a team of four. It looks like, and after um, is that 9:20? After 9:20, the registration will be $75 for one player and $300 for teams of four. And we are looking forward to making this a very monumental event because it's going to help with our scholarship banquet and just overall things that the NAACP is working on locally. We are looking forward to this golf tournament. We want to make it huge. Also, Georgine is hosting, Pioneering Women is having a golf tournament this weekend, and I'll try to send you over that, Tony, so we can upload it towards the end of the show.
Okay, great, great. So now let's get with our guest tonight, Mr. Rodney Owl, so I can let me take this fly out, and we're gonna get started with Mr. Rodney Owl. Rodney, tell us the audience. I mean, just relax and just tell us how I mean, when did you find out that you had COVID?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, Tony and LaDonna. Start off by introducing myself, Rodney Owls. I'm originally from Port Arthur. I've lived in Dallas area, Carrollton Pacific, the last 34 years. Worked for HP for 31 years and the Dallas Mavericks for 20 years, and I'm happily retired from both. And I just recently moved to Beaumont about 6 months ago. So my family's here. I'm glad to be back home and part of the community here in Southeast Texas. The COVID experience, has been enlightening. I came down with COVID on August the 2nd. And mind you to say, I was one of those individuals that, well, first of all, I've had both my vaccine shots as well. I took my first one, the Moderna shot, on March the 15th, and the second one on April the 11th. So I was fully vaccinated. Like many, I got into a little comfort zone where I didn't always wear my mask. Once it was our leaders and the leadership and the government stated those that was vaccinated, if you feel comfortable around others that were vaccinated, they relaxed the mandate on wearing a mask. So, mind you, on July the 31st, I went to a party, a social event that was held outside. And like many people there, they weren't wearing masks. And unfortunately, I was one of the individuals that came down with COVID. And I think I listened to you guys broadcast with Dr. Brown and Ms. Smith from the health department in Port Arthur. And one of the things in the case, I think Dr. Brown mentioned that in most cases, most individuals don't come down with symptoms for like 5 days. In my case, it took 48 hours from that Saturday night at the party. And it was Monday evening when I started having my first symptoms. Symptoms ranged to start coming down with the chills, very bad cough, muscular body aches. So I just naturally assumed I was coming down with the flu or the flu bug. And then it just got very severe over the course of that Monday night going into Tuesday morning. And it really had me where I could barely walk. I was having trouble breathing. And it was like that for 3.5 days. I didn't eat for 3.5 days. I didn't let anyone know I was sick, which was a mistake that I don't advise anyone to do. As stated, I was new to Beaumont, but yes, I had family here, but I didn't reach out to them, which I advise anyone that's going through something as severe as I was feeling health-wise, you should reach out and contact your loved ones or someone to see about getting some help. those first 3 to 4 days were very rough. As stated, I had trouble breathing. I couldn't sleep. And the thing about it is, and going back to the story, but I still haven't slept a full night's sleep in, at least it's probably almost a month and a half now. And it's still things I'm going through with COVID. But going back to those first 3.5 days, it's the worst thing I've ever dealt with in my life. It was horrible. Like I said, I couldn't breathe, short-winded. And it was around that 4th day when I started feeling a little better. Now, what I was doing over those 3.5 days, I was taking over-the-counter medication for the flu. I was taking Benadryl, I was taking Mucinex, I was taking Robitussin cough medicine. I was doing everything I could because I really thought I had the flu, even though I knew I never had the flu that bad. But that's all I had at my disposal. And the other thing is, it was going through my mind, and mind you, you know, I in my mind, I'm like, could this be COVID? You know, and if it was, no one's going to want to be around me. So that's why I was saying, you know, later, family has reached out and said, once they found out, 4 days later, you know, people started worrying about me. They hadn't heard from me in 4 days. So, you know, I started answering the phone because I wasn't answering the phone for 3.5 days. And relatives started saying, you know, we could have dropped you off food. We could have took you to the emergency room, which I probably should have been in the emergency room. But those were the roughest part of that initial stage of the COVID. The other thing that was, because it was so relevant in Southeast Texas, you know, you look at the news, the rates were going up, the Delta variant was very high. And myself, on day 4, I start calling to various clinics to see, because I haven't gotten a doctor or anything down here at this point. So I start calling different clinics to see maybe if I can get in to get something, a Thermaflu or a flu pack or something, because I still think maybe I had the flu at that point. And but because the cases were so high, I couldn't even, the responses I was getting was, you can't come in with the symptoms that I had unless I had a negative COVID test, because everyone was scared that, you know, I had COVID and they didn't want me coming into the facilities, you know, without a negative test. So then at this point, I'm trying to get in to get a COVID test. So it took several days to get a COVID test until that first Sunday. So 7 days have gone back from the initial Monday of getting sick to that Sunday when I was able to get in to get a COVID test. I didn't get the results until that following Wednesday, and I tested positive. So at this point, I still haven't had any medication in me specifically for COVID other than the over-the-counter medicine that I'd been taking. So at this point, I got a positive test. Now I'm telling all of my family, you know, I'm like, well, it wasn't the flu, guys. I have COVID. And everyone that I was around, you know, I was around my family that Saturday night after the party, that Sunday I was around my daughter and her family and other relatives. And, you know, at that point, I'm sharing everyone I have COVID, you know, and, you know, I'm making them aware of it. At that point, everyone that I was speaking to hadn't gotten sick or weren't feeling bad or anything in regards to my family. So at this point, you know, I'm trying to, now that I know I'm positive, I know I have to get into a doctor. So I finally got into the doctor and they put me on some antibiotic medication and some steroids. And mind you, I'm one of those individuals that had a lot of underlying conditions. So also that I was dealing with is all my vitals were like astronomically high, above high. So my fear was that that I possibly could have a stroke or something from my vitals being so high. And the medication that I was taking for my normal symptoms and things that I'm dealing with, my underlying conditions, I was having to take double the medication to just bring the levels down to be stable. And so that went on for another period of time. But from that Wednesday when I tested positive, I went back that Friday. So this is week 2. I went back to the doctor that Friday, and I tested negative. And I probably was negative on that Wednesday when I got the results for the results that I was positive. But it was just several days that went by. Well, at that point, it was 8 days. So that Friday I tested negative, and I shared with the doctor I'm still dealing with these symptoms of my vitals are very high. So he told me, continue to take the medication. It was like a 5-day supply. So that next week I continued taking the medication. I'm still being isolated at the house, and I'm still not sleeping at night. And that's been the biggest struggle where I've been one that's always checked my blood sugar, my pulse rate, my blood pressure, and I keep track and keep records of all of that. And one of the things that was still concerning was that my blood pressure was still elevated, and my blood sugar was still pretty high. My heart rate was escalating at night when I'm trying to sleep. So at this point, I'm like sleeping with a fan blowing on me at night. I'm sitting up in the bed trying to sleep any way possible, trying to get some sleep because I'm just tired. So I'm up most of the night struggling to sleep, and during the day I'm getting naps or when I can, because I can't go day and night and not sleep. So during the day I usually have my ringer off and I'm trying to get some whatever sleep I can because I'm just tired. And to be honest with you, I'm still dealing with that aspect of the COVID ramifications.
Let me ask you this, because when my family had it as well, do you find that it's more difficult at night for some reason? Like nighttime, everything would be way worse for everybody that I know for some reason. Like, not really certain, but just like you say, trying to lay down was a struggle.
Yes, it is. It is. And I can't lay down. I have to kind of be sitting up. And I've gotten advice from relatives and all of that. They were concerned that they wanted to make sure that I don't lay down, because one of the things, and I was still coughing at the point where they wanted to make sure that pneumonia wouldn't slip in or anything to that nature. But it's still a battle in regards to getting to sleep at night. And I don't know how long that's going to last. I pray, because this is all new to me, and the thing I've learned is different from everyone. As you've mentioned that your family was attacked by this, and I know individuals that has been attacked by it and dealt with it in various ways, and many has not recovered from it. And I'm just thankful that I'm here today to talk about it. And as a good friend of mine said, I'm just explaining, I'm not complaining. But one of the things that I had to do the following week is, the doctor wanted me to go back to the emergency room and get a chest x-ray and get a scan of my side, because I started having problems with my side, start to have a pain in it, and the chest, still coughing at night. He just wanted to rule out that I didn't have pneumonia and that I didn't have any fractured ribs or something, because I still don't know what caused the pain in my side. But thank God both of those were negative. And over time, as the days went by, I started telling family members, I'm having a good day. I take it a day at a time. I'm having a good day. But the thing, what really helped me was right after I took those chest x-rays, a few days later, I was able to get into another emergency room and get it's called a
Infusion. Did you get that
the
infusion?
monoclonal
Yeah, antibiotic.
antibody treatment infusion.
That's what I was
That
gonna ask you. Were you able to get the
yes,
infusion?
that immediately, and I would tell Dr. Brown this. It worked for me within 24 hours. As far as all my vital signs went back down to normal. where I'm still on my medication, but I'm not having to take double the dosage to bring it down. So that
Yeah.
was truly a blessing having that infusion. And, I'm not going to sit up here and say I know exactly what was in it, but it worked.
Yeah.
It worked
My
for me.
my dad and my sister both had to get that infusion. What I will say is they took a turn for the better after they got that infusion, because before that infusion it seemed as if they were going down very fast. And so
Right,
what,
right,
as I understand it, that infusion is just basically an immune booster. It's like extra vitamins or antibodies or whatever it is. It's something to
yeah,
boost up your fighting mechanism to keep you mobile up instead of down.
exactly, yeah. And ever since then, even after the infusion, I start taking in some supplements, to build my immune system up on a regular basis, you know. But right now, it's still a daily. The thing I'm still dealing with daily, and my concern is that, that I may need to get some oxygen at night, or some type of breathing treatment, to help with my lungs and the oxygen level to be increased from the level that it's at now. And I would just love to have a good night's sleep, to be honest with you.
Yes, oftentimes what I'm hearing from COVID patients is that they're having to get an oxygen machine or either that albuterol breathing treatment before they go to bed in order to be able to kind of expand their lung capacity, because breathing is so difficult at night. Laying
Right,
down, your lungs don't expand completely. So that oxygen or that breathing treatment gives you a little more ability to inhale and exhale when oftentimes it's restricted when you have COVID.
right. Yeah. Now, one thing I will share about the event that I went to, I later found out that event, it was a breakout of COVID at that event, where the host, his family, his mother, several guests, all broke out with COVID, and you know, so it's just go to, and I'm sharing this with individuals because I still see a lot of people on Facebook going to events, and even though and this event was outdoors, and I truly believe that whoever was the individual that had COVID and shared it, I truly believe that they didn't even know they had it. It probably was someone was asymptomatic, and they just hugged someone, and that's probably how I feel I got infected. And I'm thank God though that I didn't infect my family and my loved ones, from that. So it seemed like some people may get it and get infected by it, and some people, I don't think I was a carrier of it. And but my symptoms was within 48 hours, and I was sick.
I think that you're 100% correct. And oftentimes, what people don't realize, there are people that are 100% asymptomatic. They don't have any fever. They don't have any coughing. They don't have any shortness of breath. They don't have any indication that they have it. And if they don't know that they have it, then of course they're not going to go get tested for COVID, but they just may be carriers of it that are spreading the disease. I
Right,
myself actually feel like I may have been one of those persons, because I tested positive recently for the COVID antibodies, both long and short term antibodies, but I've never had any positive COVID tests ever
mm,
in the whole year, which would seem strange, because if you have the antibodies, then surely you had to have the illness at some
right,
point, which I've never had any shortness of breath or wheezing or coughing or any of it, fever, and nothing really, so to speak. So these are people that exist that go out and just don't know.
right. And that's what's scary in the environment that we're in today. That we're still living in a mixed environment of individuals that are vaccinated, that aren't, that aren't wearing masks, that aren't, others aren't, and it's scary. And it's taking too many lives. And I'm thankful that I'm still here, but so many are dying on a daily basis, as Tony mentioned.
Yeah, you're right. I have, and again, I'll say this again that I said earlier in the show is that I can remember losing 4 or 5 people that I knew a year just from death. And today I'm losing 4 or 5 in a week or two of death. So COVID is real. You can play with it if you want to. I mean, I tended to function today, and of course I was masked up, and I've had both of my shots. And so even though you still have your shots, you still have to be careful. You still have to cover up, mask up. Now I understand you had your 2 shots as well, but
Right,
you had underlying illness as well.
right.
So would you say, I don't know, I'm gonna let you say it, would if you hadn't had those 2 shots, you probably wouldn't be here talking to us today.
I truly believe that, Tony. Because of those underlying conditions that I have, I really think I wouldn't be here. I mean, as bad as it attacked my body, and I thank God that I did. And I was one of those individuals that was skeptical, like many, in the early days of COVID about getting the vaccination. But I had too many people to live for, and it just made common sense. It's too many people was dying early on, and it's still dying today that weren't vaccinated. And it's scary because people are dying with the vaccination, but it's a very low percentage. And
Hmm.
and it's scary.
Oh, yes, I saw the difference in the two people. In my household, we had 50% who were vaccinated and 50% non-vaccinated. All I can say is the non-vaccinated group suffered far more severe symptoms and far longer extending long hauler symptoms than the group that contracted COVID with the vaccine versus the group that contracted COVID without the vaccine. What I will say too is the non-vaccinated people in the group are having far more severe 1 month, 2 month, 3 month down the road problems.
Right. And I still don't
Wow.
know what life's going to be for me long term, with this. I really don't, because I'm still dealing with it.
Right, and their long haul symptoms that unfortunately it's a new thing, so it's a new disease. So we're still gathering information about the ramifications
Yeah,
long term.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I am glad I've had that infusion. I think I'm boosted up, as high as I can be at this point. But whenever I'm required to get another update, I'm going to be in line to do that.
Awesome, awesome, Rodney. I really thank you for coming and being and accepting my invitation. I read your story, I heard your story, and it touched my heart when I saw it. And I said, "Hey, I just saw Rodney." So I wanted you to testify that to the audience that COVID is real and COVID is a killer, and we're losing more people to COVID. But I like to thank you so much. And now maybe you want to answer a few other comments that we have before we close. And also, we have information people on vaccination. We've got a few places that are having vaccination turnout drive through that it will be very helpful to you if you decide, hey, it's time for me. I'm hearing too many real stories. It's time for me to get a shot. It's time for me to get done. Miss Phyllis Neal said that did they check you for asthma? It was kicked in on her, and they gave me a inhaler that helped. Also, sleep on your side, not your back. Yeah, you have it. Did they give you any of that?
Yeah, the doctor had mentioned giving me an inhaler, but he must have forgot to write the script, and I just forgot about it. But I didn't have asthma before, so
Hmm.
but
But it seemed like you had it when you went through that COVID, the symptoms of it, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, right, right. And Everett, Anthony Everett says he's proud of you, my brother, and God is able. Yes, he is. God is able. And
Yes, he is.
education, it really rocks, you know. I think, LaDonna, let's move on to the some of the things that's going on. Thank you, Rodney, so much. Stay with us, okay? Don't leave
Okay.
us. And tell us about the couple of things that's going on right now. Let's see if I can get this off the screen, and so we can talk about that for a minute. Hold on, folks. We're coming. I'm coming. I just on one hand. One hand. Okay. The community strategy meeting. What is for the Harvest for Lost Souls? What you got there?
Right. Okay. So Pastor Andrews and his wife are just trying to strategize about, building a better community and making a difference in your community. Saturday, they're gonna have a South Park cleanup planning meeting, bring bags, gloves, vests, water, etc. On September the 18th, that's actually the cleanup date. On the 15th, they're just gonna kind of meet and discuss what they're gonna do on the 18th. So if you have some time or you have a group of young people that maybe need to get some volunteer hours, community service, or they are going attending Lamar and they may need, community service is going to be key. Excuse me. We're going to need as many able bodies as possible. September the 18th, meeting at the Harvest for Lost Souls. Commissioner Bo Alfred, Jefferson County Precinct 4 is having a drive-through COVID-19 test and vaccination site. This will be located at Cathedral of Faith Baptist Church, September 18th from 9 to 1 at Willie Ray Smith Middle School on 4415 Concord from 9 to 1. There's going to be a food giveaway. It's going to be COVID tested, COVID vaccines, a blood drive, blood pressure, blood sugar check. You can register to vote and flu shots. This is in conjunction with a bunch of partners, Motiva and Energy, Walgreens, Market Basket. It's a bunch of people getting involved. Riceland Tan, it's going to be a really big event. So if you know somebody that needs to be tested for COVID or wants to get the vaccine, please tell them September 18th, this Saturday from 9 to 1, it's going to be a Cathedral of Faith Baptist Church at 3755 Funnett Road. And it's going to be at Willie Ray Smith on Saturday, October the 2nd from 9 to 1. And we're going to post this on the Knowledge is Power podcast live website, and it'll be on both Tony and I's page so that you guys can know the dates and the times for those COVID vaccines and free COVID testing and the blood drive, blood pressure check, all of that's happening. And then there's going to be a community cleanup at Harvest for Lost Souls.
Okay. Before we go, we've got two more comments, Rodney. Maybe you can answer this question. Can you read the question there?
You want me to read it?
Yeah,
This is
sure.
the
Go ahead.
problem. COVID is so random how it affects people. If COVID was killing or causing severe illness to everyone who gets affected, you wouldn't be hearing all these conspiracy theories. I think you're right, Mr. Fusila.
Yes, sure, it's actually correct. And if COVID had a mortality rate like smallpox, everyone would be in
Everyone
line
being
for
for
a
the shot.
shot. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, Terry Roy said that he had COVID. Yeah, COVID is a beast. You are right. And that he recovered from it. So people, it is actually really real. And this is why I changed the format on this show to testify that how real COVID is. And we want to encourage you to get your COVID shot. Again, you heard Mr. Owl says that he had both his shots, but he had underlying illness, prior underlying illness, and still was able to have contact with COVID. And he's still dealing with it. He's recovered, but he's still struggling with it. And but if he had not had the two shots,
That's right.
he wouldn't be here to tell us about it. So God is good. God
Yes,
is
he is.
good. Yes, it is. Phyllis Neal said, but it is kicking in on a lot of people. You're right, Phyllis. It is, and we've got to be very careful about it. Be safe about it, and mask up. Please, people, mask up. Get your shots and be aware. Mr. Owls, any last words you'd like to tell our audience?
Just shout out to my Lincoln High Bumblebees and Port Arthur, Texas class of 80 and all the Port Arthurans. I want to make sure you guys go out and get vaccinated and stay masked up. And all my new family in Beaumont, stay masked up and get vaccinated, please. Save a life.
Thank you. LaDonna?
Thank you guys for your time. And as always, we want to be found giving you knowledge because it is power, but knowledge in action is powerful. So use it or lose it, guys.
And we'll be back with more knowledge is power next week. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you for watching Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Be sure to like and subscribe to all Knowledge is Power social media pages.